Buenas and Hafade, Guahu si Senador Telo Taitague. This public hearing is called to order, and the time now is 2:05 p.m. Good morning to you all, and to those who are watching at home, and to those who are appearing before us, welcome to the People's House. For the record, today is Thursday, May 8, 2025. The hearing will be conducted by myself, Senator Telo Taitague, Chairwoman of the Committee on Economic Investment, Military Buildup, Regional Relations, Technology, Regulatory Affairs, Justice, Election, and Retirement. To comply to the open government law, notices of this hearing was disseminated to all senators and the public at large via email published in KUAM on Thursday, May 1st, 2025. A second notice was disseminated on May 6th, 2025. Notice of this hearing was available on the Guam Legislative website and the Government of Guam notice portal. I would like to welcome my colleagues who are here joining us today, Senator Gumataotao, thank you, sir, and Senator Sabrina Salas-Mantanani. Thank you, ma'am. We have the following bill on the agenda, which is only one today, and it's bill number 10138, COR. Before we discuss this bill, I want to set some rules of engagement for everyone to follow during the proceedings. I respectfully ask that we conduct ourselves professionally, respect each other's opinions. When asked to speak, please speak directly into the microphone, state your name and title for the record-keeping purposes. I ask that the panel remain at the table for any questions, additional questions, testimonies may be desired by senators present at this proceeding. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance and nature of the bill on the agenda. Individuals who do not comply with these rules will be removed from the hearing and prohibited from further participation. For my colleagues, copies of the legislation and documents received ahead of this hearing can be accessed through the Google Drive link that was emailed to all my colleagues. And for those in the public, you can find the legislation on the Guam Legislative website, guamlegislature.gov. So I'll introduce the bill as Bill 11038 COR, introduced by Senator Shawn Gumataotao. It's an act to add new Chapter 16 to Title V of Guam Code Annotated relative to codifying the Criminal Justice Automation Commission. This bill received a fiscal note on April 18, 2025. Legal counsel had reviewed this legislation and has no recommended changes or amendments at this time. We invited several agencies to be here to testify. Those were the Supreme Court of Guam, Judiciary of Guam, Office of the Attorney General, Public Defender's Service Corporation, Department of Correction, Guam Police Department, Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency, Bureau of Statistics and Plans, Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness, Department of Agriculture, Department of Public Health and Social Services, Department of Parks and Rec, Department of Youth Affairs, Department of Revenue and Taxation, Guam Homeland Security and the Office of Civil Defense, AB Wampat International Airport Authority, Mariana Regional Fusion Center, and Port Authority of Guam. And at this time, I'd like to turn over the microphone to my colleague, Senator Gumataotao, the author of this legislation. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and for this public hearing on Bill 110-38 COR, and for the opportunity, Madam Chair, to briefly introduce the measure, which was requested for and drafted by the Judiciary of Guam. I am very familiar with the measure, and I know that this effort has and will continue to contribute to the growth of our criminal justice system now and into the foreseeable future. Established in 1993, the Criminal Justice Automation Commission laid the groundwork in the development of a technical infrastructure that has greatly improved access to critical criminal justice records for Guam's law enforcement agencies. Since the creation of this commission, Madam Chair, the Judiciary of Guam has worked closely with all executive branch criminal justice entities, and related federal law enforcement partners to ensure that all the data needed to support their respective public safety roles are developed, collected, stored, and shared. Madam Chair, led by the Judiciary of Guam, the CJAC has guided, among other things, improvements to the court's case management system, the criminal justice information system, the island-wide fingerprinting system, the technology that's inside most of, if not all, Guam's police vehicles that link these critical systems together, and a host of other improvements to support the law enforcement needs of our local public safety agencies and our related federal partners. If approved, Bill 110-38 COR will, among other things, formally create the CJAC and set the Commission leadership and its membership. For the benefit of the listening audience, the CJAC membership will include the Chief Justice of Guam or his or her designee, the Chief Technology Officer of the Executive Branch of the Government of Guam, the Director of Bureau of Statistics and Plans, the Director of the Department of Agriculture, the Director of the Department of Corrections, the Director of the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency, the Department of Parks and Recreation, the Department of Public Health and Social Services, its Division of Children's Wellness, the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation, the Director of the Department of Youth Affairs, the Director of the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, the Administrator of the Office of Civil Defense, the Executive Manager of the Guam International Airport Authority, the Chief of the Guam Police Department, the Mariana Regional Fusion Center, the Attorney General of Guam, the General Manager of the Port Authority of Guam, and finally, the Guam Legislature's Committee on Public Safety, or a legislative committee with similar oversight. According to Bill 110-38, the CJAC will meet quarterly and develop and maintain a process to determine if and how changes to existing criminal justice applications will impact Guam's criminal justice information system. For the record, Madam Chair, the Commission currently meets regularly on a quarterly basis. Madam Chair, for 32 years, the judicial branch has led this important government-wide effort to develop and maintain the criminal justice information systems needed to enforce all the laws of Guam. I have seen the work of the Commission firsthand as a former Director of Policy Planning and Community Relations for our sister branch. Their work has certainly evolved over 3 decades and today remains an important central repository to disseminate and store data shared by our local and federal criminal justice and law enforcement entities. With Bill 110-38 COR, we as senators have a great opportunity to ensure that through public law, the Criminal Justice Automation Commission and its continued operation will provide this important government commission spanning all 3 branches of our government with the stability that it requires and deserves as a permanent entity. Madam Chair, I look forward to the presentations today and to working closely with you and your committee and all the relevant stakeholders, especially many in this room today, to move Bill 110-38 COR forward. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome, Senator Gumataotao. And at this time, we would like to invite Judge Catherine Merriman to come to the table. Joseph Leongaro from Judicial as well. Are you going to be doing oral testimony? Joseph, okay, please, Joseph, if you can come too. Joey Terlahi, please come to the table. Lola Leongaro from BSP, please come to the table. I don't see him, but, oh yeah, there he is. Antonio again from DOC. Are you going to be providing oral or written? Written, you got it. Okay, so you can read it into the record. Please have a seat. Is Therese Areola, please come forward. We also have, well, I guess, Therese, you'll be presenting your testimony. So Patricia Mofness will not be, okay, and neither will Heidi Kanata, right? Okay. Robert Rabogo is from, okay, will you be, okay, no, okay, but thank you for being here. Okay. I think we have everyone so far. Am I missing anyone that might be out there that's here to do oral have oral testimony? Anyone? Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. Judge Merriman, you are recognized. Please state your name and title for the record. Thank you. And just move up your mic just a little bit more if you can. Or if you can put it on this side and then read your testimony. Okay. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, Senator Gumataotao, Senator Matanani. My name is Catherine Merriman. I'm an Associate Justice of the Guam Supreme Court, and I'm Chair currently of the Criminal Justice Automation Commission. I see members here from the court staff who can answer any questions the committee may have, as well as members of the current commission. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony in support of this bill introduced by Senator Shawn Gumataotao relative to permanentizing the Criminal Justice Automation Commission. As the Senator mentioned, the Criminal Justice Automation Commission was established in 1993 to strengthen peace officer safety in Guam. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, the courts and the broader criminal justice system began to encounter increasingly complex caseloads, including more sophisticated crimes and growing demands for probation and rehabilitation services. Without reliable access to accurate, timely, and complete information, peace officers face greater risks when responding to incidents in the field. To meet these challenges, the judiciary brought together key partners across the justice system, including the courts, the legislature's Committee on Justice, and several criminal justice agencies, with support from the then Bureau of Planning and the Department of Administration's data team. Together, we developed an automated infrastructure that improved access to critical records and reduced duplication among agencies. Earlier contributors included the Guam Police Department, the Office of the Attorney General, and the Department of Corrections, all of whom played a central role in supplying data and building the shared systems that CJAC would come to oversee. Through this collaboration, the Judiciary of Guam became the island's designated criminal justice systems agency, a role it has carried out for more than 30 years. The judiciary manages Guam's connection to the NCIC, oversees the submission of fingerprint records to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and maintains Guam Criminal Justice History Repository. This structure ensures that law enforcement has consistent, reliable access to essential information for investigations and officer safety. Today, the judiciary continues to oversee these responsibilities and meets monthly through the commission, which I currently co-chair with the Office of Technology, Mr. Frank Lujan. The commission's membership, which includes GPD, the OAG, and the DOC, agencies that continue to contribute data and are now actively seeking and working to modernize their own case management systems. With these partners making significant technology investment, the time is right to strengthen the collaborative infrastructure that supports them. Bill 110 addresses this gap by securing the Commission's role as a permanent entity. Statutory recognition also strengthens compliance with Guam's open government law by requiring public notice of meetings and reinforcing transparency and accountability across its activities. If the Commission is a statutorily created entity, then it is eligible to seek grants to enhance further the criminal justice infrastructure. Through the efforts of the Commission, information is shared among the executive branch law enforcement agencies and the judiciary. The judiciary's resources are used to support the administrative work of the Commission. In addition, the judiciary provides personnel to the Guam Police Department to enter data into GPD's records management system. Our management information system and Marshals divisions also provide technical support. Since its inception, the Office of Technology has worked closely with the judiciary to enhance the connection between the two branches to enhance the system of providing this critical information to law enforcement officers. In short, Bill 110 honors the vision that led to the Commission's creation, acknowledges its contributions, and strengthens access to critical information across our law enforcement community. We thank the legislature for moving this initiative forward and for your continued commitment to the administration of justice. Thank you.
Situs Masi, Associate Justice Merriman. And we'll stay with the courts at this time. Joseph Leongaro, you're recognized.
Hafide, Madam Chair Taitague, Senator Gumataotao, Senator Salas Mentonani. I am here in support of Bill number 110-38 COR. I am Colonel Joseph J. Leongaro, the Deputy Chief Marshal for the Judiciary of Guam Marshal's Office. I have been with the Judiciary for over 33 years and have been part of the Criminal Justice Automation Commission, specifically working behind the scenes since 1999. In my collateral role as the FBI CJIS Systems Officer for Guam, I have had the privilege of working with all local and federal law enforcement agencies on the island, training, certifying, and preparing them to utilize automated tools available for law enforcement purposes only. Whether it is VCCH or NCIC, the tools are vital to an officer's ability to be informed. Comparatively speaking, imagine each law enforcement agency having to avoid disparity of force when combating an active shooter situation, and how the law enforcement agency will equip its officers with the best equipment on the market today. The automated processes of our criminal history records require that same sense of urgency. The Commission, as outlined in this proposed legislation, will have the ability and the authority to discuss, deliberate, and provide the best courses of action necessary to update our criminal justice agencies with the latest and greatest technology needed for the safety and security of our island community. Imagine an automated law enforcement system consolidating rap sheets and providing the officers with complete, timely, and accurate data to make informed decisions. How do we determine if an individual here on the island or from another state is wanted by law enforcement, has a protection order, or even determine if the individual is a sex offender? Why do we have to imagine when that technology is already here? The NCIC and VCCH today have accomplished that requirement to all law enforcement community in the past, present, and definitely into the future. Regrettably, without a formal commission, there are no controls to maintain accountability. Thankfully, with the efforts of our chair, Senator Gumataotao, Bill 110-38 COR, I am confident that there is hope. Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. And at this time, Joey Terlahi. You are recognized.
Buenas zanafari para todos samzu, undang klunu nasi jus masi talu para estina oportunidad. Again, my name is Joey Tolai. I work for the Department of Parks and Recreation. I'm currently the Park Police Chief for DPR. I am here in strong support of for Bill number 110-38 COR, an act to Chapter 16 to Title 5 of the Guam Code Annotated relative to codifying the Criminal Justice Automation Commission. This legislation represents a significant step forward in enhancing our criminal justice system by establishing a dedicated commission to oversee and implement automation initiatives. The automation of the criminal justice processes is essential in today's digital age, providing the means to streamline operations, improve data sharing, and ensure the timely and accurate exchange of critical information. The formation of the Criminal Justice Automation Commission will benefit not only the law enforcement agencies, but also the community as a whole. By facilitating better coordination and communication among various criminal justice entities, we can enhance public safety and communication, enhance public safety, reduce redundancies, and promote transparency and accountability within the system. Moreover, the Commission's efforts will support the modernization of all criminal justice infrastructure, making it more efficient, effective, and responsive to the needs of our community. This initiative aligns with our ongoing efforts to improve public safety and uphold justice for all of our residents. Therefore, I'm respectfully requesting your most favorable support to pass Bill number 110-38 COR and bring this important vision to fruition. Together, we can create a more secure, efficient, and fair criminal justice system that benefits everybody. Cesar Masi, thank you.
You're very welcome, Mr. Tulahi. I was going to say Senator Tulahi, so many.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for being here today. Next, I'd like to recognize Lola Leon-Guerrero from BSP.
Okay, let me just. Hafide, Senator Taitague, Senator Gumataotao, Senator Mentanani. My name is Lola Leon-Guerrero. I'm the Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. And just to share some background information, I actually was directly involved in this program, actually when it first started, because there was a federal grant requirement where we had to set aside 5% of our Edward Burns State and Local Law Enforcement Formula Grant Program to establish, actually it was criminal history records. So I'm pleased to provide testimony in strong support of Bill number 11038, an act to add a new Chapter 16 to Title 5 for the Guam Code Annotated relative to codifying the Criminal Justice Automation Commission. For over 3 decades, the Criminal Justice Automation Commission, CJAC, has been instrumental in advancing technology-driven solutions for Guam's criminal justice system. Established in 1993, CJAC has guided the development and implementation of the Criminal Justice Information System Plan. This plan serves as a foundation for Guam's law enforcement technology infrastructure. Its role is vital in ensuring the accuracy, completeness, and timeliness of criminal justice records while promoting interagency coordination and public safety. Formalizing CJAC's legal status is critical to its continued function and stability. Without clear statutory recognition, CJAC's funding, oversight, and policy direction remain vulnerable to administrative shifts. This bill reinforces its authority, secures dedicated funding, and enables long-term automation initiatives to modernize Guam's criminal justice infrastructure. Codifying CJAC ensures standardized governance and strengthens accountability. The Bureau fully supports the intent of the bill. However, I have 2 recommendations to consider to enhance the effectiveness of this bill. Establish procedures to ensure consistency, security, and seamless integration across all criminal justice technology platforms. This regular updates and enhanced cybersecurity measures will ensure the safeguard of sensitive criminal justice data and maintain compliance with federal standards. The other provision is to require the Commission to present an annual report to the Governor and the Legislature detailing its activities, challenges, accomplishments, and initiatives to enhance the criminal justice automation. This will ensure transparency and allow stakeholders to access its progress. What this will also do is also to kind of also inform the legislature too, because funding is going to be needed for this. There's federal resources, but I know there, should the federal challenges with the federal resources, we do need to explore opportunities to help to sustain the system beyond that. So in conclusion, codifying CJAC will strengthen Guam's criminal justice information system, enhancing efficiency, security, and interagency coordination for the benefits of the people of Guam. So I thank you, and I hope we see this move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lola. Okay, and next at this time, I'd like to recognize the Director of Department of Public Health and Social Services. Mrs. Areola, you are recognized.
Hafaday Chairman Taitague, Senator Shawn Gumataotao, Senator Sabrina Salas Montanani. My name is Teresa Areola, Director of Public Health and Social Services. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today on Bill 110-38 COR, an act to add new Chapter 16 to Title 5 of the Guam Code Annotated relative to codifying the Criminal Justice Automation Commission introduced by Senator Shawn Gumataotao. DPHSS supports the intent of Bill 110. The Criminal Justice Automation Commission is a critical step forward in modernizing Guam's justice system. It formalizes collaboration among law enforcement, courts, prosecution, corrections, and social services to manage and share data effectively. I would especially like to highlight this bill's impact on the Department of Public Health and Social Services, particularly the Division of Children's Wellness, the Bureau of Social Services Administration, commonly known as BOSA, which includes Child Protective Services, CPS. CPS depends on timely access to information from the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC, especially during active investigations into child abuse and neglect. Accurate criminal justice data can make a critical difference between a child being safe or remaining in harm's way. This information is also essential for social workers investigating individuals with prior criminal histories. When necessary, they can coordinate with the Guam Police Department to conduct home visits, ensuring the safety of both the child and the responding workers. By codifying the Commission, we ensure agencies like BOSA can continue assessing the information they need through coordinated legally supported systems. The focus is protecting vulnerable children, strengthening the frontline response, and enabling partnering agencies to work more efficiently. Additionally, although not specifically mentioned, DPHSS would like the committee to consider utilizing the system access not only for CPS, but for all child placement to include foster families. Foster families, also known as resource families, play a vital role in child placement with CPS, or the natural parents are unable to identify kin placement. In these cases, emergency foster placement is needed, and often the urgency of placement is reliant on the criminal history check component. Inclusion will support the rapid identification of safe placement for children in a CPS-assessed and approved home. Thank you again for this opportunity to testify in support of Bill 110-38. Respectfully, Teresa Areola.
Thank you so much, Director. And I believe we have one more with Antonio Uggan from DOC. You are recognized, sir.
Good afternoon, Senators, Senator Taitague, Gumataotao, and Montanani. I'm Major Anton F. Uggan from the Department of Corrections. I'm a Corrections Facility Assistant Superintendent. I'm here today on behalf of Director of Corrections, Fred Eugene Berdalio Jr. He can't make it, so he has prepared a written testimony that I will read into the record. These are his words, so I will read it into the record on his behalf. Okay? Again, good afternoon. I added that one, though. Buenos dan hafa day, Senator Telo Taitague, Senator Gumataotao, and Senator Mantanani. I am providing testimony in support of the 38th Guam Legislature, Bill 110-38 COR, proffered by Senator Gumataotao, that provides provisions in law to add a new Chapter 16 to Title V of the Guam Code Annotated relative to codifying the Criminal Justice Automation Commission. We agree, as this legislature indicates, that it is in the best interest of the people of Guam that criminal justice agencies and the judiciary of Guam have access to accurate and current criminal justice information through an efficient criminal justice information system. The modernization efforts of the Department of Corrections have included significant financial investments in our computer information system technology with a new jail-based management system and a parole supervision system that is active and vital for Guam's criminal justice system. It is expected that with the establishment by law of a Criminal Justice Automation Commission, there will be coordination among Guam's criminal justice agencies to review and exchange information that leads to the sustainment and development of criminal justice system and data needed for both policy use and computer system information technology improvement. Thank you, Fred Eugene Berdalio Jr., Director of Corrections.
Sutus Masi. And at this time, I would like to have the author of the legislation start off with the comments and any questions that he may have.
Madam Chair, hoping I can wrap it up, if that's okay. Can I end the
Oh, sure,
questions?
sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
make it
Senator
more-
Mantanani, you're recognized for any questions or comments.
I don't have any questions, but I do support this bill, and it seems like it's a long time coming. 30 years is a long time, and who better to know than the former director. So thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. I do have some questions to ask. I know that we talked about this at the beginning in January when I had an opportunity to meet with the judicial branch on this system. And that it is, you're right, a long time coming. It's actually been in existence for quite some time with only 3 agencies overseeing this. Now that including 13 altogether now, it's a larger group. So I guess my question as the chair right now, currently, Associate Justice Merriman, where do you currently meet right now with the commission with only 3 that you have?
Actually, we have about 10 to 20 that regularly attend the meetings.
Right. And then it's going to grow according to this bill now that you are codifying.
The bill includes some of the agencies, for example, Parks and Rec, and is being connected into the system now. Department of Corrections regularly attends our meetings, as do Mr. Lujan. The Bureau sends a representative. And our meetings are on Zoom.
Or on Zoom? Oh, well, that takes care of a facility paying rent or anything like that. So that's good. That's good to hear.
The members prefer to tune in than drive to the court, look for parking, and
yeah, exactly.
go upstairs. So
well,
it's worked out very well the last couple of years.
Yeah, and we're finding out more people attending. If it's on Zoom, you get more of an attendance than anything else. So it definitely saves us money, too, in that perspective. And that's what it will continue to do, is be on Zoom. Okay, according to the FY26 budget narrative, the judiciary receives dedicated funding streams from DOC, GPD, and OAG, Office of Attorney General's Office, to support the development of this, the CJIS program administered by, I believe, the marshals are the ones that have been administrating this division. So with more agencies now being part of the program, the CJIS, or it's actually named something else because it's CJS is a system, we're talking about the well, yeah, the CJAC, right? Okay, because the system is a system, but the CJAC. Are they going to be contributing funding to this agency? Like, how much have those agencies who are involved right now, DOC, GPD, and OAG, how much have they been contributing?
There is a set cost every year, and what the agencies do is share the cost. I think this year it was
about 348,818. Is that about right? Sure, go ahead. And please state your name for the record and your title.
Good afternoon, everyone. Danielle Rossetti, Administrator of the Courts for the Guam Judiciary. The Judiciary has entered into a contract with the vendor Datamax, and they are the vendor that we work with to support the solutions for the VCCH, which we call the Virtual Computerized Criminal History solution, and then the National Criminal Information System, which is NCIC. So the contributing agencies, as we submitted in our FY26, and as the legislature has been funding, I think currently for FY25 it was about 368,000 divided across the 4 agencies. Relative to supporting those solutions, we submitted similarly the same request for the FY26 budget. But as far as the question as to whether the other members will contribute, there was, outside of whatever grant funding for FY25, we were able to get, I think, $70-some thousand in grant funding that we applied towards that cost, so that we reduced the allocation from the 4 contributing agencies. And then for FY26, I think we've not made that determination as to what that cost is going to be, if the commission is going to have the other agencies contribute. But we are in the midst of upgrading and enhancing the solution. And so on average, I think the annual cost of supporting the VCCH, the NCIC, and NLITS, which I don't want to confuse you with then, it's a little over 400-some thousand with the vendor that we have currently. So it says here that I know that, DOC is already part of it, but now Parks and Rec, to be a part of it, if I have this right, it's going to be up $364,000 a year to operate the CJIS, the system, right? So if I can be clear, the agencies that actually contribute are agencies that provide data. So for example, the Guam Police Department, they have an interface solution to our VCCH. So the data is being pulled from the Guam Police Department arrest record, going into the server that hosts the information that is available to Parks and Recs, that is available to the other agencies. The Department of Corrections, they contribute their data is being populated into the system. The Judiciary of Guam, we contribute a cost because it's our court criminal disposition data that is tied into the system. And then with the Office of the Attorney General, it's their decision whether to prosecute or not that is tied into the system. And so everybody else that is kind of like part of the external membership, I guess, as we have seen, like the airport, they don't contribute data, but they have access to it because they're law enforcement. They can see the criminal history record of an individual. So that's why the agencies that have been contributing, they have existing solutions and interfaces that are tied to VCCH, and they also have access to NCIC, and then they contribute to NLITS, which is another.
And thank you. It's obviously a great mechanism for all our public safety agencies to be able to grab this data and cross-check with all the other agencies. It's a perfect system that's set up. But my question again is, how much is the funding to fund this system annually?
So in our FY26 budget submission, I think we put in a request of $458,000.
Okay, that's a little bit more than $364,000 from the prior year, correct?
Because the grant funding, we didn't have the grant funding to secure.
So you lost grant funding this year?
There's no, right, to cover some of the other subscriptions that are required for the system.
Okay, so last year it was 364. However, most of that was from grant funding, or all of it was from
local
judicial?
Appropriation.
The
legislature appropriated local funding for each of the contributing agencies.
Right, contribute, which is 3. And now you're looking at adding all these other agencies, contributing to the data and information. And would they have access to be able to go into the system if they needed to, like Parks and Rec, if they needed to find some information, cross-check with a certain somebody or fingerprints or something that they're trying to do their report? Can they go into the system where they have to access it through the judicial?
No, so law enforcement can have access to VCCH and NCIC.
Okay,
right?
So would you recommend?
But they're not putting data, other than the 4 contributing agencies, they're not putting data into the system.
Right, but they have access to that data.
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
so my question is, will they, do you recommend that this be split 13 ways to cover the $458,000 that you anticipate to run the system?
I think perhaps I would like to defer that to the commission. And when we had the discussion about the appropriated funding from each of the respective agencies, it was a collaborative decision that was made to say, we need to be able to help support the system. No more grant funding is going to be available over the years. But I think that's a conversation perhaps that the commission, the ones that have been meeting, and I would defer to,
I think that's actually a policy decision the legislature made. They decided that this was the cost.
And that's how much is going to happen. The grant that was helping support the system last year that you had, did it come from BSP? Is this part of the BSP grant that you provide funding to judicial under the Burns or some of the other grants?
So I do know with regards to the 4 costs that's divided by the courts, DSC, the AG, and GPD, that's locally appropriated over the years. So grant funds cannot be used to cover, the Burn grant funds were not used to cover that cost. So there must have been another funding source that was used to offset that.
Can you tell me what grant you received?
We utilized grant funding from NCHIP, but that was to pay for the upgraded annual subscription that supports the system.
It's called what?
NCHIP, NCHIP.
ACI.
National Criminal History Information Program.
Okay.
Improvement Program, there you go.
But it's no longer in existence. Hopefully it'll come back to kind of help, the other agencies, because it sounds to me like this funding is going to probably be spread equally amongst everyone who utilizes the system, which it by far is needed, I looked at even other jurisdictions that have this. They absolutely do, not even in not just the United States, but places like London, England. They actually have this system placed in Malaysia as well. So it's definitely needed. I mean, we need to stay up to date. The other questions I have with regards to does the current CIJIS utilize AI to enhance the system at all? And if so, what are the safeguards to protect against misuse, bias, and discrimination in the system and to ensure transparency? Are there guidelines that have been implemented already currently with the system you have now?
I'm not technical, so I don't know if AI is involved, but I do know that the data we have, for the most part, is public information, and it's just developing a system to easily access and share that information. So I can't imagine that there's an issue about gender bias or any of those things. It's just sort of so-and-so was arrested and charged with, and then what happened after the charge.
Well, it's nice that your co-sponsor is Office of Technology. They can provide some of that information
Yes.
and put in store some of the rules or guidelines, at least, especially as we're seeing it.
I do know that Chief Justice and Mr. Lahan and Danielle attended a cybersecurity seminar earlier this year, and they're working together to promote the safety of our infrastructure.
Thank you. Some of the testimony that we received are from other agencies who are not able to get to be here today, but they did provide it. And Guam Homeland Security also recommended in their testimony to include language that requires CJAC to adopt and implement national security standards for criminal justice information systems, such as those established by the FBI's Criminal Justice Information Service Division. And BSP also recommended the procedures to ensure data integrity, consistency, and amongst other information technology system platform, etc. So currently now is the national security standard currently implemented?
If I may, and I don't know if Colonel Liangara might want to add to this, but we do already currently have a FBI security policy that we work closely with the FBI on. So our systems have all these firewalls in place to ensure that we're complying with the FBI security policy. By the same token, the vendor that we work with, Datamax, is also in compliance with FBI security policies. So we have pretty good firewalls in place. Our IT, our MIS division, we have an ASO there that is a dedicated employee that is also on the technical side with the FBI. We provide that information, and there's a lot that we undertake to ensure that the servers that host the information and all the data that's coming in is in compliance with the FBI's security policy, as well as any firewalls that need to be in place for any potential cyber attacks.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
and so
please,
just to add on to that, basically the FBI CJIS security policy is the Bible. And so we kind of follow, there's rigorous requirements that the FBI provides that we follow. In addition to that, what normally happens from an FBI CJIS perspective is that we're audited every 3 years. And so from that confines of that audit, they literally go into the system, determine if there's any vulnerabilities and whatnot, if it's not in line with the CJIS security policy. And so your question with the national standards, the answer is yes.
Okay.
We are. At the same time, we are getting audited. In fact, this year was our audit cycle. And we pretty much passed moving forward.
So on that line of auditing information that's retrieved from the system, it's very some of it's very confidential. Is there any guidelines on who has access? Because right now we have 13 individuals who now will be a part of this commission, and each one of them will have the ability to pull information that could be, very sensitive that you can't always have. How do you go?
Correct. And so with the legislation, the agencies like Public Health with BOSA, Port Authority, as long as there's a nexus to law enforcement, that agency is involved with this whole process because the information is strictly for law enforcement. But to allow the non-criminal side, there's also options available, which is also inclusive, i.e. the Compact Council within the FBI that allows specific requirements for these non-crim.
And that hence is public health.
Correct.
Because that would be, and the BSP as well. So those are the two entities that are, go ahead, BSP.
No, BSP will not be accessing the system. We're just a member, and it's more because there were some funding guidelines that we needed to comply. So we have a plan, and we have a grant. So there's funding opportunities, like for example, we provided funding to DOC so that DOC can update and implement their system. So over the years, Burn Jack funding has been utilized to basically implement the systems at the 4 law enforcement entities. However, over the years, technology has changed, so those systems now become, I guess, no longer good, and they end up upgrading the systems.
So Lola, you wouldn't feel so bad if you're not part of this group at all, would you?
No, I'm just going to read up something of the history of the criminal justice records improvement, of kind of how it all started. Unless I can provide you with information, maybe I can email it to you. Because it was really started because there were federal funding, and we had to set aside 5% of our grant. And one of the requirements was we needed to establish a criminal justice records improvement plan for the government of Guam, for the island, that addresses automation. So from that, it was the presiding judge at the time, was Judge Lamarena. There was a task force was formed, or one of the grant requirements was to form a task force. So that task force actually was the Criminal Justice Automation Commission. So this commission was comprised of all the law enforcement entities, plus BSP, plus at the time it was Department of Administration data processing. And then we also had entities from Department of Revenue and Tax, Guam Behavioral Health. It just started expanding. So, and that's kind of how this all started. So really the 4 primary entities is the judiciary, DOC, AG, and the courts. So those are the 4 primary, and then the other entities that are involved are actually, they help contribute it to the information for the plan, and it's actually for them to access the system, but not necessary to contribute to the system. If that makes sense.
No, it does. It very much does. It said in your testimony, Associate Judge Merriman, that you mentioned here the reasoning, or you want to codify, this commission. I'm trying to find that section where quoting it. In your testimony, you stated that codifying the commission into statute would allow the commission to apply for grant funding. Can you elaborate on this, and what type of grants will the commission be able to apply for?
Well, as we all know, the world of federal grants is in an upheaval right now. When we originally did this legislation, there were definite programs we could avail ourselves of. At this point, it would be very difficult to say what's available. Bureau of Planning's always stayed on top of these things and directed our efforts to get the funding when we've needed it. And then that we've also expended it properly and accounted for the funding.
So Lola, by codifying it, I think you might have mentioned something that we would be able to avail ourselves of grant funding.
Yes, I think for me, there are opportunities. Right now, there are some challenges out there with federal funding, but I believe that codifying the commission, there are funding available that can be explored to apply for this effort.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
I might mention in the past, the judiciary was sort of the pass-through and acquired a lot of the equipment through our procurement division that was placed in other agencies, the computers and other equipment they needed. So, like the fingerprints, I think is the latest. The fingerprinting equipment's the latest thing we did.
Daniel, do you want to say?
And in addition to the equipment that we work with BSP on, and in whatever grants we apply for at the judiciary through our court programs office that we administer, we also provide personnel. For example, as the Justice mentioned, the Guam Police Department, we have personnel there that are entering critical criminal data such as firearms identification, state identification, all of the information that is critical to utilizing the system. So we do, when we can, avail of any grant opportunity to support the system. But as Lola mentioned, right, to create a solution that's going to work for all of law enforcement and those outside who need access to that information. And the legislature has acknowledged that, having funded the contributing agencies over the years, we need to be able to sustain those efforts locally. And to the extent that we can seek the assistance of any federal grant, we have in the time that I've been at the judiciary and with BSP on board, and whatever grants we can apply for, we definitely do. And we ensure that the other agencies, such as like the Department of Corrections, upgrading their systems, the blue check devices for the police officers to have in their vehicles, the training that we provide to the law enforcement on how to utilize the system, we continue to do those things.
Thank you for that information. Well, other than that, I think I'm done with my questions, and I do plan on letting all the other agencies, those potentials who want to, new members, to let them know that this comes with a cost. I don't know if you were familiar with that when you wrote the testimony in support of it. I'm pretty sure if you did, you would have tagged on the last part, please help us provide funding so that we can be a part of this membership. That part you probably didn't know, but we will be sending out additional information to these agencies and letting them know of the cost. But other than, thank you so much for answering my questions. And at this time, I'd like to go ahead.
I don't think if we provide information to more agencies, it will increase the cost.
I'm sorry, say again?
If for example, Parks and Rec comes on board, their cost primarily is 2 computers in their office, and they don't. That's all they need to pay for. They don't.
But the $458,000 for FY26.
But that's for the people that put the data into the system. Parks and Rec doesn't put data in the system.
Okay.
So they would.
So they wouldn't contribute to any of this?
Well, again, that's a legislative decision, but
exactly,
I don't think it would be necessary
well, we definitely
to change how we do it now.
Right. So we definitely have to find some funding, funding source for this, because I don't think, Daniel, did you say that you incorporated the 458 in your budget for the judicial?
We
requested it in your budget?
But across the 4 contributing agencies. So again, it's
okay, so it's split.
The agencies that currently contribute the data. Like Park Police is not going to contribute data to get access to the system. They would need to just have their computer equipment, because we currently they don't contribute a fund. I mean, they don't pay in to use this to access it. Same thing with CPS. But because the vendor that we work with interfaces the system with, for example, the Department of Corrections case management system, the judiciary's case management system. So there's technical support that is provided for the contributing agencies. For the agencies that are listed in the bill that are not providing the data, they would just need to be able to access that information. And the vendor that we currently work with will not. They're not tying it into their case management system. It's just giving them the access.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. But I think it is going to cost. So we have to find some way to find this funding. Other than that, Senator Gumataotao, would you like to?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple of questions, but I think Lola, you said that, and this is the same testimony that was given by the Office of Homeland Security. They said about the procedures issue. So I know Joe had he basically on the record talked about the FBI's, their rules, which is Bible. Are you asking for us in the legislation to add a provision to codify these procedures, do you think?
So I'm not an IT person. I'm not too familiar with how it's all processed. And I'm just thinking, just to make sure, there's consistency, security, and seamless integration across all criminal justice technology. Because basically what it is we have 4 different platforms, 4 different systems. And it's this, I'm going to call it a switch, which is that pulls the data from the 4 different entities that kind of forms the rap sheet, the criminal history record that the agencies access. So Frank is there. Frank is the co-chair. Joe did clarify. I don't know about the inner. I just wanted to make sure that there is that consistency, security, and there's going to be that seamless integration.
And why I ask that is because if it is, I'm hoping that we have. I know Danielle was sitting in the back, and then she had to step forward, so that we'll be looking for your help to if there is any change in the statute, this particular bill, that we'll just make sure we just add it if there is any such a thing on a time frame even. But that's why I was asking, because I know Joe was pretty clear about the process and some of the procedures that are in play and very familiar with that. So if we are going to add it out, we just want to make sure that we do cover it in any change in this particular markup. Also, one other thing, if I could, Madam Chair, is and we'll work with the committee, is to add perhaps the annual reporting requirement to the Office of the Governor. We'll slip it in there, and again, we'll be working with the judiciary and the committee in the markup process to make sure we add that one provision if we could. And I think to address the concerns of Therese, if it's going to use maybe to help with the foster families, it might be basically what BOSA is doing, and thank you, BOSA, for your service to the people of Guam. It would be just adding maybe perhaps as a user versus someone else, and I think we can work that through. Maybe the commission, once we get this legislation on the session floor and passed, that one of its first things might be to maybe address the foster families issue, because I think that's an important distinction. And so, but those are my only concerns, Madam Chair. And again, we'll work with you and our friends from our sister branch of the judiciary to ensure that in the markup process we address these matters. And yes, Madam Chair, thank you again for hearing this bill. And thank you all for being with us today and your advocacy on behalf of all of our law enforcement agencies and our justice system. Thank you again.
Thank you, Senator Gumataotao. So if there are no further questions or comments, this concludes our discussion on Bill 110-38 COR. And my office will continue to accept written testimonies on today's hearing within 5 business days from today, which will be mailed to you could mail to my office at 238 Archbishop Flores Street, Suite 407 of the DNA building in Hagåtña. You may also send written testimony to my office via email at senatortelot@gmail.com. So that being said, thank you all for your participation. Create a great day, and the time now is 3:07 p.m. This public hearing is now adjourned. Thank you.